Hello, good evening. Good evening. Welcome to the Law Chmber. So, legal matters are discussed from a Christian perspective. The name, your one and only Anita Delight. So, we are going to discuss HR and admin matters today. The idea is that most institutions have realized usually do not take HR seriously. They think HR is just one part of the boxes to tick. So let's get an HR person. And we don't really value their work. And most of the legal issues that come up in companies is in respect to HR. So if you have a strong HR team, most often than not, when it comes to personnel issues and admin issues, the only problem is that, what I say, but I want for HR serious. If you don't take your HR too serious, you get the strikes in left, right, center, and the associations giving you a headache. So today we're going to discuss human resource and admin matters. And in respect to law in business, right? The whole season has been law in business. So if you have your questions, you know how to call us, you know how to get to us. And this season has been very important to us because we are trying to equip and build the capacity of businesses. The small, the big, and the one you are thinking about. So please, if you've missed any of our episodes, today is episode 12. Next week will be 13, our final season. Yay! We are tired. The body is tired. So next week will be our final season. So this one is episode 12. Go to Facebook, just type the Law Chmber Ghana, the Law Chambers. All the videos are there, even from episode 1. Okay, and update yourself. So let's zoom in. I'm really interested in HR because I'm doing a course in HR, and there's this one particular course, HRD, Human Resource Development. Some people are failing. But I'm so curious about HR. So let's dive in. So let me introduce my guests. Okay, let me introduce my guests to you. You know, when I bring guests, they are the best of the best in their field. Right. So let me introduce them. Let me start with ladies first. So I have Helena Jebiwa Lamte Messes. She's a human resource professional with over 10 years of experience and exposure in HR. Across finance, NGOs, she's seen it all. One thing I love about her is that currently she's the head of human resource for HPW Fresh and Dry Limited, the largest dry fruits processing company in West Africa, with a workforce of 1,500. Human resource head, and she's dealing with 1,500 people. She's going to tell us how she's doing that because I don't even understand. She holds a professional executive master's of ADR from the Game ADR Institute, a Master of Science International Human Resource Management from the Sheffield Hallam University, UK, and a Bachelor of Arts in French and Philosophy. That language, that today, up to today, I can't speak. So I'll speak with her today. From the University of Cape Coast, Ghana. She has a professional qualification from the Human Resource Certificate Institute, USA, as a senior professional in HR International, an associate member of the Ghana National Association of ADR Practitioners, and a chartered member of the Chartered Institute of Human Resource Management, Ghana. Helena, you are welcome.
Thank you.
Je m'appelle Anita, et toi?
Je m'appelle Elaine.
I think that's where my full stop ends. That's where my French ends.
Oh, you should continue.
I don't understand though. I've tried though. Maybe I'm saying my ear is hard.
French is easy.
Yeah,
it's
quite easy.
So I should try again.
Try again.
Because
so
it's a
human
good
resource in French is ressources humaines.
Huh?
Ressources humaines.
Ressources
humaines. Humaine.
Yeah? Oh no, that's awesome. Working with 1,500 people.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah. How do you do that?
I have a team, but it's not easy. I mean, in manufacturing companies, even the 1,005 is just in our minor season. In our peak season, we can hit around 1,700. So it's about putting.
And do
the
they have an
systems in
association?
place. Yes, it's a unionized environment.
I feel for you.
But
We'll delve into it. So I have a very handsome gentleman with me. He goes by the name Joseph Mensah. Very simple, right? Joseph Mensah. Yeah, all from Middle. He's a certified HR practitioner, mediator, and arbitrator. He holds a BA administration with a focus on human resource and currently furthering his education. Right now, Wisconsin. I'm a lawyer. You see, lawyer in the making. You see that. He has over 10 years of impactful experience in HR field, and he's been in the corporate manufacturing environment. He has successfully served as HR manager in reputable organizations, including IPMC, DHL. I think I'll talk to him about it. And now making valuable contributions at Equator Foods Ghana Limited. Additionally, Joseph has acted as a mediator in labor dispute, where he has effectively facilitated resolutions to challenging workplace conflicts. I understand why an HR person wants to do a DR.
Oh, yes.
Because you really want to try and resolve the matter before it escalates.
Yes. You have to see it before
it even comes up.
Be able to resolve.
You have to resolve it before it escalates, as usual.
Yeah. But is it difficult?
It is not.
Because dealing with human beings.
Yes, you see, so anytime you are dealing, you should be able to forecast what is going to happen. That is
then
the
you have to ask God.
Yeah, no, not. The issues has a root cause.
Yeah.
And being an HR, that is one hallmark you have to have. That you have to see it before it happens, how it's going to end, and you have to resolve it before it gets there. That is the main problem.
Okay, before we get to I have this. Maybe because I worked with HR people who are not humane, I've always had this thinking about HR people that HR people don't care. They're always for the company. They don't. The interests of the employees, they don't care about us. Am I wrong or am I right?
You are wrong.
I'm wrong.
Yeah. So I mean, that is the perception out there that most
we felt it though, Charlie.
Most employees feel that HR people are always on the side of management, but I believe that HR is a win-win solution. Is to balance both, because if the business goes well, the HR is also an employee. We all enjoy. So at the end of the day, it's not that we're on the management side. Ours to ensure a balance between both the employees and the employer. The most important thing is to ensure that the corporate objectives are met. And at the end of the day, the well-being of the employees will also be taken good care of. So I mean, employees should not feel that HR is always
HR
on
people
the...
stop making us feel.
Oh, no.
Stop making us feel.
I mean...
And why is human resource development, is it difficult or is it that they want to mafia us? That course.
Human resource development is not difficult.
So why are people failing, including myself? Because that particular subject, I don't understand.
HRD. But that's the most interesting part of
it
HR.
Is.
Because it helps you to know how to develop the staff, because at the end of the day they are developed. It helps.
It was fun until I filled the paper. All right, so let's move into So when we talk about HR, what is HR? What does that mean? What's the relationship between the two?
Well, okay, so HR is basically managing the asset. Yeah, when we talk about the asset, we are talking in terms of the human aspect of the organization. You are looking from their training aspect, their compensation aspect, their welfare, everything that encompasses the human body in a company. That is what HR does. So, but when you are talking about admin, you are looking at the day-to-day operation of an organization, where admin comes in and makes sure that the planning of the company works out every day. Where is the logistics? You put the logistics in place here and there. So I think basically that is the difference between the HR and then admin. Okay.
So so what's the role of the HR person? What's the role of the admin officer? Is there an intersection?
Okay, so when it comes to the role of HR, I mean, as my colleague mentioned, HR mainly is involved in the personal development, the talent management, which starts from the recruitment stage, and also from recruitment as you bring the people in, how they are developed, how they are monitored in terms of performance, and how they are also compensated to be able to be motivated to do the work. So mainly HR is more about the well-being of the staff, the development of the employees, handling the employee relations, as we mentioned, in order not for issues to escalate. As an HR person, you should be able to address employee concerns before it gets out of hands. But when it comes to the administration aspects, mostly the administration is more on the logistical issues. So for example, if the HR brings the individuals in, employees in, the admin also sees to it that the logistics needed for these people to perform their work is in place. So admin more of manage the facility, the facility, or perhaps the assets of the business, and also the day-to-day operations, records keeping, office management. But most often the roles are intertwined because you need each other to succeed.
So why should an organization have an HR person? Because anyone can do that work. So why should there be an HR professional in that role?
It seems so that anybody can do an HR work. That is the general perspective. But you cannot bring anybody to sit in an HR office and say that, okay, somebody has come with a complaint. I'm going to address it this way. There is an unfair termination. How are you going to address this issue? There is a sexual harassment case. How are you going to address? There's a training needs. How are you going to address it? You see, so these things are competence that an HR is supposed to have. It is not something that you bring a mere person to sit on a table and tell you that, okay, I'm going to handle it A, B, C, D. It doesn't work like that. So you need to retain people in an organization. How do we do it? What compensation, what benefit do you have to give them? Why are workers leaving? Are they more treated? Is there any underlying factor why workers don't want to work for you? So these are some of the things an HR looks at. So it is not something that you say, okay, I'm just sitting there, okay, I'll give you a salary and all these things comes in and you say, okay, take your salary and go home. It doesn't work like that. Any top organization is built on a good HR, good policies, you understand, and implementation of 8 policies as well. How do you solve complaints? The grievance in the organization, how do you deal with them? So these are some of the competence an HR should have so that your company has a smooth operation in every day. So this is some of the things an HR has to have.
So then actually you can pick anyone to be your HR person.
Yeah.
If I agreed on that, right? All right, so now let's go to some of the laws that regulate the HR profession. What are some of the laws?
Okay, so when it comes to the laws regulates the HR profession, we have the Labor Act, which is our core. I mean, we always say that's our Bible. So, I mean, as an HR, you should really know your Labor Act, the core law. And we have the LI, which is the labor regulations as well, the 1833. I mean, it's a supplement of the Labor Act. So there may be some things that is not stated in the Labor Act. You'll find it in the LI. And we also have the, I mean, currently we have the body, which is the Chartered Institute of Human Resource, that also has a labor, I mean, regulations that guide us. So it's expected that every HR has a good knowledge of the Chartered Institute Act, which guides the profession. So that is also another law. We have the Workmen Compensation Act, which is also handles in terms of compensation issues of employees in our workplaces. And we also have the Constitution, which is the supreme law. So the 92 Constitution also has, I mean, that is where all these laws derive its source from. And it also talks about, I mean, in terms of Chapter 5, which is more on the fundamental human rights. So as an HR practitioner, you should be able to know what the law says when it comes to the human rights issues. And yes, we have the Data Protection Act. Because we deal with data, it's important that as an HR profession, you know how to handle confidentiality when it comes to the data that we receive. So these are some of the laws that the GRA Act, which is also in terms of employee statutory payments, which also guides our operation. So basically, these are some of the laws that as an HR profession, you should know. We have the NLC also regulation there, which is the National Labor Commission regulation, which is more on disputes. So as an HR, you should also have knowledge of this, because when it comes to disputes in your organization, you should know how to handle, resolve using negotiation, mediation, arbitration. All these are stipulated in the NLC Act, which helps you to be able to resolve dispute before it escalates into, yes, to Labor Commission.
Those are a lot of laws.
Yes,
oh, yes.
we have a lot of laws.
You have Factories and Shops Act there.
Yeah.
Yes, so for us operating in the manufacturing sector, you have these authorities also coming to your organization to inspect whatever they need to inspect. So you have to know all these things. So that
now I understand why a lot of HR people now are interested in law.
You have to go into the law.
Because if you go into law, that's a strong combination. Yeah. All right. So let's look at some of the issues that come up in respect to HR in the workplace. And what are some of the things that the HR practitioner should do, or the owner of a business should look out for?
Okay. So basically, you have issues of injury issues.
Yeah.
That is one aspect where I know some organization, they don't really take care of the employee when they get injured. And it is very sad that you are in your country, a foreigner comes to set up a business. A citizen gets injured and nothing is done. There are a lot of employers who don't take good care of the employees. I'm sorry to say, some HR also don't adhere to some of these things. So you have injury cases there.
If you do get the injury, I thought the National Labor Commission should be able to step in if it's reported to. Even the courts will step in if it's reported to.
Yes,
that's the
truth.
if it's reported, so they don't report.
How many employees will even go to that point? We are talking about a factory setting where you have casual employees. Their qualification is around SHS. Yes. So most of them don't even know what they are supposed to do. So being a good HR, you should take care of these workers.
So as a company, your HR is supposed to let you know that you're supposed to take care of your employees.
Yes. In fact, the onus is on the company when a worker gets injured. Yes, you should. The Workman Compensation Act clearly states that the onus is on the company. The company is liable. But there are a lot of companies out there that
because there are mitigating factors, but generally, yes.
Yes. So, and we have maybe unfair termination.
That's another one.
Yes, where employee doesn't understand, they can take you to the Labor Commission. Some also go to court. Yes, and we have the harassment cases.
It's becoming rampant. At first, I thought it was only the women who were being harassed. Now the young men are telling us they are being harassed.
You know, there are sometimes you get these cases. You call the individual, the lady, and she's not able to talk. That is a very big issue. So I always tell my HR partners that, look, in any HR setup, you should have a lady HR in there. Oh yes, because if you're a man looking at harassment case, they don't feel okay to talk to you. And so maybe Helena. And on the issue of harassment, I think she should tell me more about that one.
Harassment. I mean, so when it comes to harassment, what we have done is we have male committee and we have female committee. You know, sometimes workers may not feel comfortable to come directly to a manager to report. So we've set a gender committee. We have male, we have female, so that the male that feel that they've been harassed, they can go directly to the male committee to report. And same as the female also, they can go to the female committee. So the platform has been created where employees can easily communicate to any group. If you want to see a manager to, it's also open for you to see, because in an environment where you have, let's say, only female in HR, an employee who is a male will even feel shy to come there to report about harassment issues. So what you mentioned on the HR, issues that HR may really experience. One is also biases in handling disciplinary issues, because if disciplinary issues are not also handled well and they are biases, it can also lead an HR to Labor Commission. especially if you have policies that you don't follow. For example, if your policy says that if somebody steals, the person should be terminated, then you end up dismiss the person, or perhaps you even change it to a warning. At the end of the day, you might think maybe you are favoring the employee, but anything can happen and it will escalate, and you see that you have also flouted your own policies. So the most important thing is every HR should really have policies in place to guide operation and the management of the human resource, because our Labor Act has talked about fair termination, unfair termination, 62, 63, what should lead to unfair termination, what should lead to fair termination, the rights and duties of employers, Section 89, and also right duties of employees, 10, 11. So there are things that is stated, but the Act does not tell us how to terminate.
Yeah.
So if you are an HR and you don't put policies in place, you will always have issues, because now if any manager comes that, oh, terminate this worker, you don't know how to go about it, because the law says that you can terminate on incompetence, or you can terminate on sickness. You just terminate the person without doing a due process. So it's very important that HR professionals put in place good policies to guide the operation, good policies to manage the human resource, so that as and when issues come, you use your policies to handle these issues, to stay off any trouble.
So that small business man or the small business woman out there, you're saying that person needs an HR?
No, you know, when you want to have an HR office, you are looking at the complexity of the business that you want to set up.
Okay.
So we are talking about business where you have about 100 employees.
Okay.
Or you have a business where you have about 2 or 3 employees. How do you manage their human resource aspect? So in such instance, when the company is that small, are you going to outsource it to somebody to come in and then do the day-to-day activities?
So there's a possibility of outsourcing the work.
Yes.
Okay, we have companies, HR companies.
Yes.
That's okay.
Yes.
So they'll do the recruiting for you, they'll do the
Yes.
training,
Yes.
payroll, everything.
Yes.
Okay.
But if you are having that large numbers in a company, there's the need for you to have HR department. Because day in and day out, there are problems that will come. Policies has to be followed. Communication has to be clear. And if you don't have that department, you stand off risks of getting issues day in and day out. Compliance issue and all those harassment issue will be popping up. Yes.
All right. So then, what is a small company and what is a big company? Give me a number. So let's say if you are 1 to, let's say, is it 5, 10?
Yeah, because when it comes to the ratio in terms of HR, globally is 100 to 1. So if you
100 to 1. So if I don't have 100
so if you have
employees.
100 employees, 1 HR, that's the ratio. But however, I mean, as a small business of less than 10, you don't necessarily need an HR. You can easily manage it yourself. But as the business grows into 50s, even though the ratio says 1 to 100, managing 50 people is also not easy, because you have to manage everything. I mean, everything that concerns the individual. So it's important that at least if you have a workforce of 50 to 100, you should have an HR managing the work-related issues, so that you don't have, I mean, as a business owner running from your business to come and handle the day-to-day activities, the day-to-day operations of the work. You need an HR who is competent enough to be able to handle the recruitment, the training, the compensation. This will also help so that the employee issues are being adhered to, are also being listened to, and also it helps to reduce complaints. Sometimes in an environment where you don't have HR, most often the employees are demotivated. Yes, a good HR.
Effective HR.
Yes, if you don't have a good HR, sometimes if issues are not well handled, it could lead to employees even attrition, people leaving.
Yeah.
It will be difficult to retain the workers because they are not motivated. The environment is not conducive. There are some companies that you see, even though the law says that statutory deduction should be made for tier 1, tier 2, there are some companies who are only doing tier 1. They don't do tier 2. But all these are illegalities. But it's because our
sometimes
our
the
bodies,
system itself that doesn't give us the room to check on this thing. So
checks.
One thing I like about SNEDS is SNEDS goes after people, and it's really bad.
They do, but
they go to companies and they'll be asking.
Is the multinational, they always follow us.
Oh, actually, there are these schools. There's a friend of mine who has a school, small school, less than 10 teachers, and they're harassing her. I'm like, hey, even that is not effective.
It's still not enough. It's still not enough because there are companies, you know, for example, they bring in the workers for 3 months, they work and then they go. No SNED, nothing is done.
Nothing is paid. Casuals.
Yes.
Some companies
and the ones that surprise me are the 6 months renewable, because you know that when the 6 months hit, all things because the person becomes a permanent worker, so they delay you off, they employ you again. 6 months, they lay you off, they employ you again.
I mean, the law does not frown upon contracts, because the law says you can employ someone on contract for more than 3 years. Yes, but what the law says is, I mean, for temporary workers, a worker who has worked continuously for 6 months and more should be treated as a permanent staff. Yeah. So that is where the caveat is. So it means that if I'm in your organization, I've worked for more than 6 months, if you are giving a permanent worker PF, it's expected that you should also give me. But I doubt if that is being done in some companies. But it's because we are also not being checked by, let's say, the labor department. Yes, they have to go around. But frankly speaking, check all these things.
These people, they can go around, but Charlie, they are just an institution. I think the whistleblowers, because if you're in a company and it's not going well and these things are happening, you should really report them.
You know, the labor law too is set up such that it doesn't favor only the employee. So it also gives room for the employer to have that flexibility. You know, when you are working with a large number of workforce, you see, managing this kind of contracts day in and day out becomes very tedious. You want to end the contract after 6 months. You break them, they go, and then they come back. But why not continue? At the end of the day, who is coming to check? You see, that is where the problem is. Nobody will come. In Ghana, HR and labor has a problem with those checks. Let me just give an example. When you are in a company and injured people are there and they are not being compensated, which regulatory body comes to check? You don't have. Yes, but you are mandated to report it to the labor department. But are they coming to check the number of injuries that you are having?
Can we put it under persons with disability, or those are too permanent?
No, I mean, it depends on the injury, because per the Labor Act and even the Workmen Compensation Act, accidents and injuries at the workplace should be reported to the Labor Department. So the issue is, what if it's not reported? Then in that case, if the employees
the company has flouted.
Yes, the company has flouted, but then...
But who is checking the company?
Who is checking the company?
But if you also hurt and you will not take the responsibility on yourself to report.
But they don't know.
You see, the workers...
They don't know. That's why we are teaching you. I beg you. That's why we are teaching you.
Sometimes, you see, also because of fear of losing your job. So most people are quiet, because if I go and report, I will lose my job. So even though they have that right, they are not able to exercise the right they have as an employee. Yeah, because you are scared of losing your job. But the most important thing is, yes, most companies have HR. And sometimes it baffles to see that you have an HR in your business and there are some things ongoing and they cannot talk about it. Yes, some of the HR will say that sometimes the people at the top don't allow them. Even though they know what to do, they are not being allowed to perform their role.
What does that mean?
So it means that even if you want to take an action, I mean, you cannot take it, because you're also scared of losing your job. But I believe that as HR people, we have to be firm and just...
Then shouldn't that be the reason why the HR person should be up there? Because always I realize that most HRs, they are down there. They are never up. They are usually in the middle. So shouldn't that be the reason why the HR should be up there? So that it's not you, we are all apart, deputies here. You can't
you have HR that is up there.
The top HRs.
We do.
Yes, you have. But the call is coming from who? The owner of the company. Yes. He is making the call. But you see, it doesn't stop you from doing the right thing. We
That's
shouldn't
the
let
truth.
our workers down.
That's the
As an
truth.
HR, you shouldn't let your workers down. You have to fight for them. In fact,
Yeah, I'm here to see an HR who is fighting more.
oh no,
We are
actually we
always
do.
fighting.
The ones I've come across. Why do you think I'm doing HR?
Maybe the people you've come across, but
Why am I doing HR? The one I met, I'm like, this can't be HR.
No.
So I started investigating. I said I'm going to
Yes,
do it
yes.
because this can't be
we
HR.
care, we
Yes.
care for employees a lot, but it depends. Sometimes, yes, you may have an environment. Sometimes it's not their fault. As I'm saying, there are some HRs that they are being, the top managers do not allow them.
You know, those people, you see them. Those people, when you go and talk to them, they are empathetic, they are sympathetic, they understand, but they go like, Charlie, my hands are tied.
Yeah.
But then once you enter their office, why should
Yes, let me give you one
Yes,
trait of
do.
that HR. You see, when you have such an HR, you realize workers are not able to approach that HR.
Yeah.
Because what
And
are
the
you going to say?
grapevine is so ripe.
You can't say
Concern the
anything.
company. Everywhere you go, 2 or 3 people are meeting and talking about something.
Yes. So
Okay, so that small company that you are telling that person, please, if you are too small, don't think of an HR. Try and outsource, right? But if it's 50 to
Even
100,
outsourcing a small company, to me, a small company, if the owner has some knowledge in HR, you can handle at the start. You
it's
can
small.
handle it. Yes, just to save cost.
I think what you
Yes.
can do is more of consultation.
Yes, you can
You
just have maybe somebody
Consultant,
yes.
to
They
guide
I think
will
I
brief
like
you,
that.
Yeah, they will
To
brief
guide
HR
you what to-
consultant.
Just
You know, the HR, I didn't know what I will be using it for. Now I do. I think I want to be a consultant. Okay, all right. So, if it's a small business, you look out for a consultant who will help you. If it grows up, then you look at the externals, and then you look at having an in-house person. So, if you are consultants for today, you are all consultants. The business person comes to you and, Helena, Joseph, I have a company. How do I go about my HR? What are some of the documents that the company should have? I should ensure that we have to regulate my company. What will you be saying?
So as a business owner, if you are starting, I believe that it starts from the registration, going through the RTI to ensure that your business is registered and have the necessary documents for your facility. But after you have all this registration in place, then you want to bring in employees. The law also expects that these employees should go through a process. So for example, if you're engaging new staff, the LI talks about pre-employment medicals, which is very important that before you engage staff, they go through pre-employment medicals for you to be sure they are fit to do the kind of work they are coming to do. The education, qualification, and all the necessary documents that you expect workers to have, it should be in place before you bring them in. Then, as you mentioned also, you have to register the business, because also for safety issues, the business for fire safety, which should be, the business should be registered to have the fire safety certificates, and also you have to get people to also assess the facility. So that is why even in our company, sometimes you get people who come and assess your facility and certify that indeed the facility is certified to be able to start operation. So all these things are very important. As a business owner, before you start operation, you need to deal with the regulatory bodies, you need to deal with the governmental bodies. There are a lot of certification that you have to put in place. The EPA, which is also very important, for especially for companies handling manufacturing. You always have to ensure that you have the permits.
Environmental
The
Protection
Environmental Protection
Agency,
Agency.
the
You have the
EPA.
permit in place before you can start operation.
Okay. So now the company has been set up. Everything is going on well. I have my employees in-house. What are some of the manuals, policies that has to be in place?
Okay, so like where she started from now, you have the employees.
Yeah.
What contract do you have with the employees?
Okay. So you have the employment contract.
Yes, now you are going to give them the employment contract,
Okay.
your terms and conditions and what you want. And then you are also going to spell out your misconduct. If it's stealing, what am I going to do and all that. Now your policy also comes to force. What should I do and all that. You have to also explain to them about their SNIT and tax deductions. They should also understand this aspect. So once you are done with this thing, are you going to talk about training? Is it in every quarter you are going to give them some training? Now you should also let them understand what happens when there's an injury. So some of these things you have to let the employee knows once they get on board. And then you have to do your orientation and all these things before your employee starts the work. There should be a certain agreement between you, the employer, and the employee, so that there's enough understanding between the two, so that the work can run smoothly.
So now we are done, and then now the company has begun. We have the documents in place, and then we are now looking at the associations within a company. If I'm an employer, should I allow the associations? Do I have a choice in it? Or I don't have a choice? If I don't have a choice, how do I go about them? How do I?
Yes, so when it comes to association, I mean, the law is clear that there's freedom of association. So if employees today have set a business and the employee says that, I think the law says that employees of more than 5 can form an association. So if we are 10 and we say we want to form an association, the business owner, you can't do anything to restrict them. It's their rights. So they have the right to join any association they want to join, so far as the law allows it. I mean, it's just that sometimes some companies put fear in workers to even join a union, but I don't think we should see the union as an enemy. They are all our co-partners. We work together. They are also stakeholders. So if both parties are doing the right thing, employers are doing the right thing, you will not fear union. You see them just as your partners working together to build the business. So for association, yes, employees have the right to join. Then employers should not restrict them because it is their rights. If they want to form 10 associations in their workplace, it's their rights. But at the end of the day...
But if a business owner tells you that these associations impede the work of the company, what will you say to that?
And that is basically not true. Yes, you know, some employers intimidate the workers, which is also against the law, because the labor law allows every employee to join association that they feel comfortable.
But we also know of employees, because of their position, they intimidate the employer.
Oh yes, so you see,
because you know these
the employers have right.
They do.
They are, you know, if there is an understanding, I don't think an employer should allow an employee to intimidate you, because you also have right. You know your right. An employee knows his right. Because
you see, the lines are blurred. So let me look at an example where this person is the association chairman and the person is a bully, so to speak. But because the person is a chairman, you have to be careful, because if you tell the person, they'll tell you that because the person is part of the association and the head, and those people in a way are, in quote, protected. Yes. And the minute you tell that person will say, it's because of my association, because of my position, because of my advocacy.
No, I believe that, as we mentioned, every company has policies, has code of conduct, I mean, has disciplinary procedures in place. So if you are a union chairman, you cannot flout it, because before you became a union chair, you were a worker, and you are still a worker. So it's not about your chairmanship. Your union chairmanship has a role that you play for the union, but however, so far as you are a worker of the company, it is expected that you follow the policies. So if you're a chairman and you flout the policies and procedures of the business, it doesn't mean that you cannot be touched. No matter the position you are holding in your association, you can still be taken through the disciplinary measures if you flout the laws, because nobody is above the law.
So let's say, for example, I want to employ an HR person. What are some of the things I should look out for?
If you want to employ
an HR person, let's say I have a company, I want to employ an HR. How do I go about it? What do I look out for? Because I really feel some HRs are not empathetic. They're not sympathetic. Me, if I own a business, if you're a woman and you've not given, like, either you have a child or you have a child you are looking after, you don't necessarily need to be a mother, biological mother, but you should have children yet, or otherwise I will not employ you.
That's discrimination.
And that is blatant. Because I feel as if some people are not empathetic and not sympathetic.
Yes, it's true.
It's about the rule, the law, the law, the law, the
Yes.
law.
Every employer should also know something about HR. That is the first thing.
Important.
Yes. So if you are bringing an HR who doesn't care about your employees, know that your business will fall. Yes. And HR is supposed to care about the employees. They should be able to bring out things that will make employee feel okay. My boss always says something. When the atmosphere is good, people tend to work well.
And you retain, like people will be retained. Somebody you give the people lots of money and you think you retain them. No, people who are serious about themselves, they only give respect of the money.
Good. Yes. So if you are bringing an HR who can't understand some of this aspect of the human chain, you are going to get yourself into trouble. So an employer, you are looking at an HR who understands what he's coming to do in terms of compliance, workman's compensation, employees benefits and compensation, general employee well-being, the PPEs, communication, and all this. That is
and on top of all that, empathetic.
Yes.
The human relation aspect is
he should be approachable. He should be
very
approachable.
important.
You understand? Being an HR, when you are an HR in Ghana, for example, people feel like, okay, I'm the boss. People don't approach me.
And one thing I realize is sometimes they don't have an HR and then they pick some, okay, you be the HR.
Yeah.
And so that person has no training in HR. But I'm thinking if you don't have a training in HR, go and train yourself.
Yes.
But irrespective of how the person is trained, so if you don't have it, you don't have it. I feel as if some people have it and some people don't have it.
Yes, you see,
the temperament.
Yeah.
And both of us are managing large workforce. And the key thing is that you want a smooth operation every single day. When you are managing a manufacturing sector, you don't want this chaos, this strikes. So as an HR, what are the things you have to do? Sometimes it's not about the book. It's about you going down, talking to people, knowing the root cause. Hey, some people are thinking like, no, the salaries are not okay. They feel aggrieved. You know, the sad part is, employee will not approach you, the HR. Only a few can come to you, the HR, and tell you that this is happening. But if you, the HR, you are not down to earth, you overlook all these things. And before you realize, there's chaos. Yes.
So if you're an HR, you should always put your ear on the ground, because they will not come to you, but you will hear something. When you hear about this thing, you don't have to close your mind. You need to sit and handle the issue, because sometimes that's how grievances come up. It starts from the down level, and as an HR, if you get to know, you don't take an action before you realize, then boom.
Well, of course, there are excuses that the people don't listen to me.
So yes, sometimes employees feel that, but then you, the HR, should be that person who always listen to employees, so that if the employees are not able to go to other managers, you should have that welcoming approach, so that employees can bring their concerns. Then you can also discuss further to see how to handle some of these grievances at the workplace.
Wow. Wow.
Especially also in organizations where we have the union. We should, as I mentioned, the union, they are not our enemies. There should be a system in place where employers engage the union frequently, either quarterly or monthly, so that some of the things, when you meet and you engage the union executives quarterly, monthly, they are able to bring out issues that is bothering the workers, so that as employers, management team, it can be handled from there. As an HR, you can also pick it up and address those concerns. But where we don't see them as part of the business and we don't also engage them to hear from them, and we say to end of year, then they are coming to negotiate before we meet our union.
This means they're already angry before they come to the negotiating table,
because they don't even know what is happening. But then we should be engaging them, sharing the business profitability challenges that the business is going through, so that the union also have knowledge of the business, so that even when they are coming to the table, they already know the status of the business. They don't end up coming with a huge rates for across the board, but they know that yes, the business is struggling, or perhaps the business is doing well because management have opened their books and they are also aware of the status.
Oh, wow. So we've looked at the possibility of outsourcing, but can you have an in-house HR and still outsource? Or you think it's double jeopardy?
No, I think basically what we should understand is that, and you look at the complexity of the organization.
Okay.
Okay, so from my side, the casuals are outsourced. Okay, so we manage the permanent employees. Yes, so that it's too much burden for the HR department. So you give that side to some, but that doesn't mean you don't check what they are doing to the employees.
Important.
Yes, it's very important, because at the end of the day, they are working for you. So whatever decision that the outsource agency is taking, whatever you want to do, you should make sure it's right. So if the
how do you do it then? So if there's anything and the outsource HR is doing, are they supposed to get your okay first thing?
Yes.
Yeah, they need to report.
Yes, they have to.
Because some of the outsourcing companies, if you leave them, they will not treat the employees well. And that is why some companies don't also outsource, because some of the outsourcing don't even pay their SNETs, their tier 2.
But you are paying them to pay.
But you are paying them to pay,
Yeah.
yes. There are some outsourcing not treating employees well.
Wow.
They are not treating employees well. I mean, yes, as an HR, you can outsource some of your activities like the recruitment, just to take some workload out of you and perhaps the payroll. But however, you should always have to monitor. Especially if you are in manufacturing environment, and also if you are in a multinational company, you are being audited. So sometimes you will have external regulatory bodies coming to audit you, and they check your outsourcing employees and they feel that there are some regulations not being respected. It's you, the employer, who will be held liable. So it's very important that even though you are sourced as an HR, you always check to avoid any illegalities.
Because I had this case where it was more of, these insurance, and insurance, usually when you bring people, the person always gets something, and even in respect of the person leaving, it's always attached. And there was, there's this external person who's supposed to look after the contract workers, and when they bring in and the person is leaving, because you are leaving, every entitlement which is due you, they don't give it to you. And so the question is, what is the main company doing about it? The main company is silent.
So it's the HR's job to monitor the day-in activities of this outsourcing. Yes.
So will you advise that the HR of the main company should be contacted before any other steps are taken?
Yeah, but also, even before you engage an outsourcing company, as an HR, it's your responsibility to ensure that the outsourcing company you are bringing on board follows the law. Because if you leave things open like that, they will end up doing whatever they like. So you, the HR, will have to put the clauses in place in the contract you are going to have with these external bodies, so that they respect all these clauses and how they handle the employees to avoid any issue. Because at the end of the day, even though yes, they are not treating the workers well, you will also, as an employer, you also be held liable if there is any violation.
All right. So if a small company and a medium-sized company or a big company, looking at these 3 tiers, come to you and say, as an HR person, what are some of the advice you can give me that will help my business? What are the 3 advice you give? Looking at the small, medium, and then the large. If
if it is, your question is like
3 tier.
Yes.
Yes.
When it's large, you see things differently.
So look at it from the large to the small.
So in a large company, you need an HR department. A very competent HR department.
Competent.
Yes, a very competent. So you need the HR that will also understand the employee's problem. The welfare of the employee is very important. See, everything that we are doing is because we are working with humans. And you know, human beings are very emotional. They want their issues to be handled. Sometimes it's just you talking to them and their issues are okay. Some employees are aggrieved because HR doesn't talk to them. You see, so in a large company, you need this department, your admin department, your HR department, your health and safety department. All these department has to be there for you to run very well. Now you are looking at a medium company. In that sector, how many employees are you having? If you think that is just maybe about 50 to 100, you need maybe one HR to run your day-to-day activities for you. And if it is a small company, you are looking at consulting an HR. What should I do in this case? What does the law say? Because in HR, it's just about the law. If I don't give my employee salary on time, have I breached the law? If I choose not to pay them in 2 months, some people do.
Yeah.
Have I breached the law? If I choose to sack them without any reasonable cause, have I breached the law?
You're not giving them their benefits.
Yes. So as a small company, you need to also have that consultation with an HR expert so that you don't have any problem at your workplace.
So,
Helena, I'm coming to you. Talk to me.
Yes, okay. In addition to, what my colleague said, in a small company, yes, you may not need an HR. It may not be necessary because you are starting, but yes, you consult for guidance to be able to also put the necessary measures and procedures in place. But when it comes to the medium and large companies, it's important to get a competent HR to handle issues, especially if you are in an environment where you don't have any policies. You should be able to have an HR who can develop policies to guide operation, to guide the management of the workforce. So my advice to companies, medium, large companies, is that yes, we should not see the HR as a cost center, as most top management see it, that HR is all costs. We are not a cost center. We are the, we are the soul of the organization. When it comes to the HR, we are the soul. Because without an HR, you will not have a good environment. You will not have a motivated workforce to really perform at the workplace. So I just want to encourage employees, top management, to motivate your HR. There's a saying that the HR care for the people, but the people don't care for the HR. See the HR as a business partner, as a strategic partner. We are the ones developing the workers together to help achieve the corporate goals. So if you don't have an HR, please, as a big organization, as a medium organization, if you are managing a workforce of 100 or more, you should be able to get a competent HR to handle your issues, to reduce your complaints, and to make the environment conducive.
All right. So, should I say your final words?
Oh, okay.
Under a minute.
A minute.
Under a minute.
Well, what I would say is that as an HR, and every HR, you should prioritize the welfare of your employees. You should welcome your employees. Make sure that your employees are...
So we are trying to tell you as a business owner that if you are picking someone, pick someone who cares.
Oh, yes. Who can prioritize... You see, when you have good employees, your company will thrive. Trust me. You see, because everything that you are going to do is human-centered. And you don't have any HR who doesn't care, then your company is not going to stand. It's doomed, yeah.
Okay, so my advice is, yes, as HR professionals out there, the world is evolving, so we should keep learning. We should try to learn new things every day. There are a lot of opportunities available that we can learn from. We also have the Chartered Institute of Human Resource Management. If you are an HR and you are not a member of the institute, I want to encourage you to join the institute, because now it's a registered body that regulates HR profession in Ghana. So if you are not a member of the institute as an HR professional, it's important that you register to join. and together we all learn. We have the Accra chapter as well. We have Tema chapter. We have, I mean, in all regions there are chapters where we meet monthly to discuss HR issues, share ideas, network. And I believe that together, if we share ideas, we'll be able to learn more and solve the issues that is happening in our organization. So to everyone out there, HR, we are not, it's not about hiring and just firing. We do a lot, and we are the, I mean, my boss used to say that I'm the mother of the company. So yes, he's also the father of the company. See us as the same as employees. We are also part of you, and let's be welcoming to staff so that whatever issues they have, they can come to us so that we can even address it before they take it out there. So let's keep learning. Thank you.
Let's keep learning. See, I can't be brave. I can say, oh yeah, what our business now our business in Kofona no more ejuma na bia mo 5 and 2 and 10 bia. Maybe I offer HR person here sir. But one kasa na our business owner no. Sua na ho HR kakra. Na obi be wo outside or a consultant. Oh, no fun, not drain na obisa no. Ebe bo na ama no business. Maybe I have 50 employees or up to 100 employees and then they will HR department or company ma in here. I didn't in here. HR nyama bebre so omo fan crofo no mo second crofo keke. So be proud with you mo in here. Says obey SNET contributions also in here. Say ope say nipa no edimu a obi o how I employing 5 years, 2 years, 6 months, 1 year. Un training in poda. Nipa no start to send or buy na sa not in all company nim. Why them boa? Into HR persons we make sure say nyame ni na mo boa o business. HR person so I say law no nyama be praise so who in terms of the law. So more equip in respect to that. It wasn't there obi company be sorry ye ko strike, ye ko demonstration, ye ko say because HR no strong ho. Or HR is strong or bad or drain workers ni ho. But before assembly crab ko strike no. No what no handle crab mother that. Na HR no mpeni 4 year owner HR no nya boy koyewe against we employees no maninye ne djuma ni yie na employees ni nje employees ni nje a company ni be koso employees ni anje ade bia wo say nkofo papa no mo ni medjuma no de bia no mo fim no mo nim no de mo de bia no mo go be bia san nkofo no o metse mu san but no mo ye good ni mo no na de bia mo fim ti a show company ni hwe hosoma me o mo so a sua HR kakra to be a HR consultant na on ma guidelines say no kind no CHRM omo management we also person ko sua kakra utimi ko sua boa. So this is season 5, right? And this is episode 12. So next week is our final episode and then we are done with this season. Trust me, I'm tired and you're also tired. We all have to rest. Okay, so today we law in business, we've looked at HR and admin matters, right? So if you have any questions, any contributions, please can send it. And please also note this, that season 6, the topic you want us to discuss, you can bring it and we might consider it. Okay, the topics you want us to discuss, season 6, we might consider it. And so next week we are going to discuss law in business, in-house counsel, litigation versus ADR. In-house counsel versus litigation versus ADR. That will be the last episode. The question is, which one should you go for? Which one is more important? Which one shouldn't you go for? Which one will help your business? That's what we are going to discuss next week, and then we'll be done with this season. You know, I've not been here by myself, so let me say all my thank yous before next week, because next week I don't think I'll be able to say the thank yous. We have a lot to discuss next week. So thank you for listening to us. Thank you for your advice, your contributions. They've been enormous. They've been so helpful. Someone tells me, Anita, this, that, and it's been so helpful. So the team here myself, Anita Delight, Tanya Meche, he's a sign language interpreter. You know, always he's with me, right? And one thing that people sometimes ask me is, Anita, I want to learn sign language. Maybe I just say, but I don't know. Sign language, they means yeah. But if you're interested in learning it, if you're interested in his services, please, he has the Martin Ataki Consult. Martin Ataki Consult. It's an online service and webinars, workshop training, media inclusion of the deaf, educational and academic settings, sign language translation and adverts, health and legal settings, religious and community service. That's what they interpret. They can do all this work for you. So just call 0547 949443, 0547 949443, or 0502 717373. He's there for you. Just give him a call. Any service you enjoy, because frankly, I feel as if persons with disability have been marginalized. They are usually overlooked. They are usually not included in our. That's why we've made it a point to ensure that at least, if nothing at all, at least we have our sign language interpreter Nameche with us. If you need him for yourself, it's like any program you are having and you need a sign language interpreter, which you showed, please call these numbers, okay? And let him do the do for you. So please, until next week, which is our final episode, please take care of yourself. And from the team, we say thank you. We are grateful.